A warm welcome to all of our attendees here today. Good afternoon to those who are in the Philippines or in the region, and good morning to those who are in Germany. We would like to greet our 7 delegates who are participating in this business mission and in this today's conference. All of us are excited to know more about your respective companies and solutions. We would also like to welcome our experts and partners with us today. We have our valued partners from Eclarion, Mr. Amado, Mr. Gerdes von Fraunhofer, Mr. Dison from the Cold Chain Association of the Philippines, and Mr. Ablaza from PE2. We are looking forward to hearing your insights about the cold chain and cold storage industry. I'm Charlotte Bandelow. I'll be your moderator for today. Without further ado, let me call on our Executive Director of the GPCCI, Mr. Christopher Zimmer, to give his opening remarks.
Thank you, Charlotte. Good morning to those in Europe, and magandang hapon po sa iyong lahat to those in the Philippines. Energy efficiency has become one of the most relevant topics in the Philippines over the last couple of years. The goal is to have a sustainable, stable, and sufficient power supply at low costs. This is only possible through the utilization of renewable energy and by incorporating energy-saving solutions. In line with that, the Philippines is known to the rest of the world as a tropical country. While this means high demand for refrigeration, especially in the food and medical sectors, it also translates to a great potential for expansion in the cold chain industry. Hence, this office aims to be a platform for German companies to showcase products and solutions that will benefit both Germany and the Philippines, environmentally and economically. Through exploring potential business partnerships, economic ties between both countries also continue to strengthen. In this function, we are pleased to be the facilitator of the German Energy Solutions Initiative of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action. This program promotes German technologies abroad and supports 7 German companies in exploring Philippine market potential and partnerships with domestic counterparts. This project would not have been possible without our partners. Eclarion, the Cold Chain Association of the Philippines, and the Philippine Energy Efficiency Alliances, and of course the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action. GPCCI belongs to the International Network of German Chambers of Commerce Abroad, the AHKs, which is represented by 140 offices in 92 countries. GPCCI is the official representation of German businesses in the Philippines, a bilateral membership organization with around 300 members and a service provider to companies in their market entry and expansion. I'm Christopher Zimmer, the Executive Director of the German-Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or simply called GPCCI. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to our virtual conference, Energy Efficiency in the Cold Chain Industry, Technology and Solutions. Mabuhay, and wishing all of us a very successful day. Back to you, Charlotte.
Thank you very much, Chris. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we dive into our rich program, I'll just quickly explain the rules of the game because we are in a meeting setup. There will be a question and answer session after each company block. So we have created 2 blocks and the companies are arranged in alphabetical order. Everyone is encouraged to raise questions, and you could use the chat box designated below and type your questions there. If your if your question wasn't taken up, please don't be sad. There will be the opportunity in breakout sessions. So after the conference proper, we will open breakout rooms in where you can meet the delegates and raise your question personally. I'll share more details about this networking mechanics at the end of the second block. For our dear speakers, to avoid overlapping, kindly switch off your sound and turn off the videos while it's speaking time. I think we just heard someone. All presentation slides will be shared after the event, so there is no need to take screenshots. Thanks so much for your cooperation. And now I'll call on our partner, Herman Amado, Project Manager on behalf of the German Energy Solutions Initiative of the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action. He'll give us an introduction. The floor is yours. I think he is sharing his slides, right?
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Charlotte. I will share my presentation. So,
looking good.
I think. Okay, thank you. And can I start? Dear ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to take the opportunity here to warmly welcome you on behalf of the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action. My name is Germán Amado, and I am project manager at the Clarion. We are the German partner of the Chamber responsible for the acquisition of the German delegations and speakers. I am very happy that despite all the circumstances, we can meet virtually today and carry out this conference. So I would like to take the opportunity and shortly introduce the Energy Solutions Made in Germany, which is coordinated and financed by the Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Action. The background to this initiative is to promote intelligent and sustainable energy solutions for a successful energy transition. In order to support the goals of the energy solutions made in Germany, we, the consulting partner in Germany, as well a German-Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, offer the provision of information on German technologies, networking and business opportunities, exchange of know-how by providing first-hand information for experts. Last but not least, I would like to briefly introduce you the German companies and give them warm welcome. Indion GmbH, ISA GmbH, Material Innovationen Gesellschaft GmbH, SolarNext AG, Ingenieurbüro Meyer Olbersleben, C4 Consult Effizienz Network, Hörmann KG, Verkaufsgesellschaft. Thank you for your participation, your interest in the target market Philippines. I am sure that even though we cannot be physically in Philippines for this event, I am positive that you will get in touch with many exciting stakeholders to form new partnerships. On this slide, you can find my contact details on the contact of the Office of the German Energy Solutions. You can contact me at any time if you have any questions about our projects. I wish you all a successful event and good now hand over to the chamber again. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Hermann. And now I will call on Mr. Jan-Niklas Gerdes, Research Associate from the Fraunhofer IPA, and also my dear colleague, Mr. Tobias Fritze, who will conduct the expert interview with him.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and should I request remote control for the slides?
Maybe while we set this up, I can briefly introduce you. This is Jan-Niklas Gerdes. He's going to talk to us about energy efficiency measures in cooling application. And Jan-Niklas is a research associate from the Fraunhofer Institute, a renowned German research organization with more than 29,000 employees. He is part of the Industrial Heating and Cooling Working Group, and he's our expert for energy efficiency and energy flexibility. Please join me in welcoming Jan-Niklas.
Thank you, Tobias, for that kind introduction. Let's see if this works. Yes. Yeah, welcome to my talk today on energy efficiency and cooling applications. As Tobias has already mentioned, my name is Jan-Niklas Gerdes, and today I represent the Fraunhofer Institute for Production Engineering and Automation. Yes, there we go. Which is one of the largest institutes in the Fraunhofer Society with more than 1,000 employees working in all different fields from education to application, everything around applied sciences, with my working group being very closely related to energy efficiency and energy flexibility. So I'm just going to give a quick introduction into the subject matter. So as most people know, in 2015 at the Paris Climate Accords, the world agreed to drastically reduce their carbon emissions. And nearly every country in the world set specific goals to reduce their CO2 emissions in the coming years, which is usually achieved through either reducing their primary energy consumption, especially of coal, gas, and oil, coal, and natural gas, as well as drastically increasing the share of renewable energies in the electricity production. And those are actually two topics which are very closely related to the question of energy efficiency as well as energy flexibility. And with that, I'd like to give it back to Tobias.
Yes, Jan, my first question for you is, what opportunities do you see for energy efficiency and the use of alternative or flexible energy sources in cooling applications in the Philippines? And then how can energy and CO2 intensity be reduced?
Thank you for the question. So CO2 or decarbonization in cooling applications is or can be achieved through three different pathways. The first one being the substitution of refrigeration fluid with high global warming potential by using alternative refrigerants, such as, for example, CO2, but also by increasing the energy efficiency and energy flexibility capabilities of the facilities itself. I'm going to start with energy efficiency, which is a very, very current topic and can be achieved through four different avenues shown here on the slide today. The first one being the optimization of the cooling system itself this is usually done by expanding the process monitoring capabilities, enabling us to identify potential energy efficiency measures, as well as enabling intelligent load management, yielding to energy savings of up to 20%. Another important block is the recovery and utilization of the waste heat produced during the cooling processes. So one very popular avenue of achieving that is by using that waste heat in the ventilation and hot water systems, or by coupling it with absorption chillers who convert the heat back into cooling power, yielding energy savings of up to 80%. Also upgrading outdated and old machinery with more modern, high efficiency machinery, especially those with variable load capabilities and intelligent pressure and temperature control, can yield to energy savings of up to 15%. And the last block I cheekily called organizational measures, which is kind of a mishmash of very different things to do. First one being the regular maintenance of machinery, but also sensitizing employees for the risk of unnecessary cooling losses. So for instance, by leaving the doors to refrigeration rooms open for excessive amounts of time, which can in turn yield energy savings of up to 15%. Another really important topic as well is the question of energy flexibility, which we regard as kind of an extension of energy efficiency, but usually requires a small introduction into the topic itself. So what you can see here on the left side are two different diagrams of energy production and energy demand at different times of the year. And as we can see in the upper one, in summer, there's usually an apparent wastage of energy, so an overproduction of energy. And in winter, the energy demand and energy consumption usually gets very close to an intersection. So there's a risk of blackouts. And with the increased share of renewable energies in the future, this behavior is going to be more apparent in the coming years, but also enables us to use that fact. So usually in times of apparent high overproduction, energy is very, very cheap. And when there's not a lot of overproduction, energy gets very expensive. So it's through the flexibilization of our facilities, we can actually improve the energy saving potential or energy cost reduction of the facility itself. This is usually done by kind of shifting, increasing or decreasing the energy demand. And that can be achieved through different ways. The very basic one being by just simply using the thermal inertia of the cold storage facility itself, which to a certain degree can act as a kind of cold storage unit itself, or by using intelligent load management in case there are multiple cooling systems. But the flexibilization can also be further increased by technical investment, for instance, by purchasing hybrid cooling systems or by investing into energy storage, which I want to talk about a bit more in detail now. So as we can see here, there's a profile of a typical solar energy module and the energy demand of a typical facility during the day. And as we can see, there's quite a substantial residual difference between the production and the consumption at the facility. So by implementing a battery storage, as we can see here, we can move the overproduced energy into the times of low energy production, thus increasing the degree of autarky of the facility itself, as well as reducing the energy cost, because the energy cost by the power grid is usually much more expensive than by the energy produced on site itself. But energy storage can also affect the energy efficiency. So by implementing cold storage facilities, we can actually drastically reduce the peak load required for the operation of the cooling facility, allowing us to use much smaller cooling systems, which in turn can operate at a longer time at maximum capacity, so at maximum efficiency, leading to energy savings of up to 32% as well. And with that, back to you, Toby.
Thank you, Jan. My second question for you is if you can share some examples and best practices of energy efficiency measures in cooling applications.
Yes, I can. I brought with me some use cases. The first one second. Yes, the first one being the Walgreens store in Evanston in Illinois in the US, where they drastically improved the thermal insulation of the facility itself, as well as implementing a very large solar energy system and 2 wind turbines, and building a CO2-based refrigeration system with waste heat recovery, using that for the ventilation and hot water systems, as well as digging 850-meter deep boreholes for seasonal waste heat seasonal heat storage, through which they managed to reduce their energy consumption by about 60% and enabling them to produce all the other energy on site, so drastically reducing their energy or achieving complete autarky as well. Another use case, which is much closer to you, is the Royal Duty Free Shop at Subic Bay in the Philippines, where they replaced their decentralized plug-in refrigeration systems with a centralized system based on natural refrigerant equipment, as well as a closed water R290 loop for cooling, and drastically improving their energy monitoring, leading to not only a reduce of energy usage by about 20%, but also drastically lowering their maintenance cost. And I think because of time constraints, I can only share one more. So the last one is an example from Italy. Yes, the hypermarket, which also built a CO2-based refrigeration system with waste heat recovery, as well as smart lighting and smart ventilation system, yielding an expected reduction in energy consumption by about 50%. And what we can see here is that through the implementation of energy efficiency measurements, we can not only decrease our energy consumption, but through that also reduce the energy cost by the facility itself and decarbonize at the same time. And I think with that, I thank you very much for your attention. And if there are any questions, you can put it in the chat, or there's going to be a Q&A session later as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan, for sharing your expertise and for joining us today.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, gentlemen. Then before we dive into company block A with the companies C4 Consult, Ether, Hermann, and Indion, our colleagues prepared something to wake up the audience and get you engaged. So please join our Menti, and for this we are posting now in the chat box the access, but you see it also on the screen. So it's www.menti.com, and when you are on the page, you will have to insert the code 41818030. So it was just posted now. And we would like to ask you, have you already incorporated energy efficient technologies in your company? And while you're answering, the slide will show your experience so far. Okay, so we have a third saying yes. Oh, now it's growing. Okay, now we are at 50-50 saying they have incorporated already energy efficiency technologies. Others say no, not yet. Good thing you're joining today. Yes, okay. You can also answer in the chat box, but I think it's nicer if it's visually seen in Menti. All right. So now we're at 60-40 ratio. So a few seconds left, and then we have another question for you. So that's nice. So majority is already applying energy efficiency measures. Let's move on then to the next one. If you answered yes, what technologies have you applied actually? So we see insulation, heat recovery. Please share your measures or solutions that you IE4 LED, great. Passive house, centralized ammonia rev, great. In the chat, I see solar PV, policy formulation. Now we have solar panel and solar, looking great. We have more monitoring systems, great. Okay, so that was our little game. Thanks for joining and sharing your experience here. And with no further ado, we'll move on then to company block. Company block A. So each speaker has 8 minutes, and we'll start with Mr. Roland Zimmermann, Managing Consultant at C4 Consult Effizienznetzwerk. He's also the founder of the company, and he will share about energy and resource saving technologies. Mr. Zimmermann, I hope you're there.
Yes, good morning,
Yes.
respectively. Good afternoon to everyone at the Philippines. So I just have to look, my camera is working, my mic is on, so we can start.
Yes.
Okay, would be great if the slide would appear now, right now. Yes, welcome. I'm based here in Berlin. My office is in Berlin, and we are a consultancy for about 12-30 years now. And we are busy in different fields of energy efficiency. And when I saw the slides from Niklas Gerdes from Fraunhofer, I said, yes, I know this technology. This is, we are familiar with this. So in this case, we will focus on solution which is necessary in the Philippines when it comes to energy storage. So next slide, please. Our main focus, you have to click through. Okay, perfect. So our main focus in every case is reduction of energy consumption. In the first case, in industrial buildings, in production facilities, even in airports, hospitals, and so on. And our main focus the last 10 up to 12 years was optimization of cooling, of heating, ventilation, insulation, all these issues which Jan Gerdes just mentioned. And what's now a new issue within our offer is power supply with second life battery containers. We have a new partner here in Germany, and we are we are the sales representative and the sales partner for the company E-Battery Systems GmbH. And I would like to show you what's possible and what will be the benefits using this second life battery containers. So we can turn to the next slide. The battery containers are a modular, a scalable system, and yes, to point it out, there are really cost advantages in comparison to first life systems. So we can switch to the next slide. And as you see it in the headline, it will be up to 33% cheaper than every first life battery storage solutions. And when you are producing your own energy, you have the possibility to accumulate it. The containers, we have 20 feet and 40 feet containers. They are turnkey ready, easy to install. When you are running, for instance, a PV plant on a cold chain storage facility, you can use the energy from this PV plant to store it within the battery containers. And peak shifting, as I mentioned, it was on slide 13 from the Fraunhofer. Peak shifting is one of the main issues when it comes to the usage of second life batteries for commercial use. So next slide, please. Yes, just an image. These are the usable, well-known sea containers, which are used for this complete solutions, scalable systems. If you have a need for 1 megawatt and you see when it's running for perhaps a year and you see I have to store more energy, you can scale it up to 2 megawatts, what's wanted on site. So next slide, please. And I think this is one of the main USPs. Every electrician is possible to install and to integrate this system into already existing surrounding. You have a monitoring software which is very easy to maintain the installed battery cells within the racks. Absolute service friendly. You have no need for a specialist on site when one of the storage modules has a failure or doesn't work properly. So it's very, very easy to maintain it. And we hear the question when you are using second life batteries, what about the guarantee? So e-battery systems will guarantee 5 years for the batteries. The complete system is designed for 10 years and more. And the prices you see in the last line between 350 down to 250 euros per kilowatt is depending on the project, on the need on site in your project. So next slide, please. And I think we have had a discussion with a managing board of e-battery systems the last few weeks, and they are open-minded. They say it makes no sense to produce these battery solutions in Europe, to export it to the Philippines. It makes much more sense to build up your own technology. They will support you to set up a production facility on site in the Philippines. So you have the possibility to create new jobs in this field of green technology. And it's not a rocket science. You need some craftsmen, you need perhaps some engineers who are familiar in the field of electrical components and so on. But we would support you in the Philippines to, yes, use your chances in this field of green technology, which is given in the next years. And next slide, please. I think the first point, get rid of growing prices for energy sources, especially when it comes to production of electricity. will be the main topic of the running decade, because we know in every economy the prices are getting higher and higher and higher. And in this case, we are quite convinced that a battery storage container will be a component growing prices. And so we get to the next slide. Yes, I found this article in the World Bank. I have the link beneath in the on this site. But when you are using several technologies which are possible for installing in Cochine and warehouses and so on, I think it's possible to reach amendments from 30 up to 80%, up to 50%. And so we can use the next slide. You have the possibility to use these QR codes. So you will find the left QR code you will get on our German website, C4 Consult. This is in German language. And when you use the right QR code, you have all the information in English about the battery containers by the company E-Battery Systems GmbH. And on my last slide, here are my contact details. And yes, if there are some questions later on, we can discuss it in the question and answers possibilities. And that was it in a nutshell, what we are offering for the Philippines in this case. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Zimmermann. In 8 minutes, fantastic. And then we'll hand over to the next delegate of ours on energy efficiency consultancy using also software. ISA GmbH, Mr. Martin Hagen, business manager, and the word is, or the floor, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. You can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Good. So thank you again, and a good morning and a good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure to e-meet you. 8 minutes is short, so important topic. I start right away. ISA accelerates industrial or commercial energy efficiency. And from Mr. Gerdes, we already learned that there are numerous possibilities to cut energy demand in the cold chain. So one thing we talked also about is all the aspects in respect to CO2 effects. But another thing I wanted to highlight was also mentioned that this is often very cost effective. So in a nutshell, you see the green, for those who not notice this kind of chart, the green box shows like an economic potential, and as you see, it's below, and the horizontal, the vertical axis is the costs or the savings, and as energy efficiency is below the zero line, it means it's pays back. So energy efficiency is very cost effective, and I think that always needs to be reiterated, because sometimes people are a bit afraid. Yes, we don't want to pay more. No, you save more energy and more money also. So the commercial aspect also is very, very important. One challenge about energy efficiency is that sometimes it's not visible. So that's not a cold chain, and that's also not a picture from the Philippines, but everyone sees. So this probably is not perfectly efficient. But what is the underlying problems talking about energy efficiency or looking at energy efficiency? We often find that information is missing. Where can energy be saved? That there's information asymmetrics. If companies talk to a supplier, the supplier always knows more and knows better about the risks and uncertainties. And in institutions, this is a challenge because it's about technical aspects and about financial aspects. So communication within institutions is also sometimes a challenge. We are addressing this with a digital solution. It's a purely digital approach via our web platform. So I'm just run it through a conceptual example. Institutions, persons can log into the account. They provide basic data about the systems for the specific application they are considering. And then the algorithm identifies here in respect to compressed air specific opportunities for compressed, not for compressed air, for energy efficiency. And again, as Mr. Gerde said, in the cold chain, there are numerous specific potentials, and they can be identified whether they are applicable in your specific case or not. And for each of them, more technical background is provided. Here, an important limitation, for sure, if the data is not correct or if there are uncertainties, there is also an uncertainty in the results, but it helps a lot to narrow down the list of potential opportunities and to prioritize them. And with these things, we overcome the problem, so information is available, it's symmetric, and the communication will be eased, and thereby factories or commercial entities look more like this, more energy efficient than what I've showed you in the beginning. And next steps for us, we are very interested now in this conference today and in the upcoming B2B meetings. We would be happy to exchange with industrial users or commercial users for an application. We are very much interested to exchange with multiplicators because we are not auditors, so it's not as detailed as a full audit. The big added value of this approach is that you can run it very fast and cost effectively for a large amount of users. So we are more interested to exchange with multiplicators or solution providers. And with these words, actually, my presentation is already over. Thank you for your interest, thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward for the exchange maybe in the meeting room or the upcoming B2B meetings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hagen. That was short and sweet. We can now move on to Mr. Hendrik Schwarz, Sales Director, Asia Pacific of Hermann. I believe you also be showing your own slides.
Yes, correct. I will believe I will share my own slides.
Yes.
And wait.
Something is loading.
Yeah, something is loading and something is wrong. I get an error message. Start my video. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes.
What do you see?
It's in the presentation PowerPoint.
Good. I cannot see my, okay. I'm not using Zoom very often. Yes, great. I can see my menu on top as the Zoom menu on top of it. Great. Okay, wait. Okay, Bildschirm Präsentation. Sorry, I'm using, but I mean, I got a little bit of time from the speaker before. Hi, my name is Hendrik. I'm the APAC Sales Director for Hermann Doors, responsible for all APAC countries except China. And today I would like to enlighten you how we can help you to save energy in the cold chain. To give you a little bit of facts and figures on my company, so we're 100% family-owned business in the 4th generation, almost 100 years old. We're very secretive in a way, so we tell you on Wikipedia that we have over 6,000 employees. We sell more than 1 billion euros per year. This is very conservative, but we are the biggest door manufacturer in Germany and the 4th biggest in the world. And we do all doors from your basement door up to high-speed doors in airports. We have 38 production locations around the world. We're currently building 2 more factories, so there will be even 2 more countries that will be orange. But right now in APAC, we have 2 factories in India and we have 3 factories in China that service the region. We have over 80 sales companies or 80 locations in different countries for sales companies. As you can see here, the countries that are blue, like Mongolia, Australia, Indonesia, we serve through dealers. And right now in the Philippines, we also work through dealers, but I'm very interested to meet up with people in the cold chain because this is big business for us. And maybe later we will set up a company in the Philippines. Our portfolio is kind of fourfold. We have domestic doors, that what made us big in Germany. So for everybody who's from Germany, they know Hermann probably from their garage door. We have a market share of 80% there. Then we do commercial projects like data centers, car showrooms, offices. But today I would like to talk about industry. Industrial door systems. We also do service, but industrial door systems is at the heart of cold chain for us. And if I can change my slide, then you see here what kind of range we have there. We have sectional doors, gates, high-speed doors, but I would like to focus on cold chain doors. So every door that you see in this picture we can do, but basically for you guys, it is more this door that we're focusing on, like a cold chain door for high bay cold chain warehouse or general cold chain warehouses that operates with high frequency and offers you a very high thermal insulation requirement. And high frequency could be with our doors 300 to 500 times a day, opening and closing without any problems. But even if you have the best door, you tend to get problems in the tropics when the design is flawed. So the potential issues that we have in tropical countries, like the Philippines, is you get freezing on the door. Because of that, the door doesn't open properly. You get higher maintenance because the ice impairs the proper working of the door. And you even sometimes have ice throughout the entire cold storage area. So basically for you, this is an energy risk, this is a safety hazard, and maintenance cost. So all these will be addressed by our door and by our team, and we can help you to lower all these costs. So if this looks familiar to you, if you think this is how it should look like, please talk to me. I can help you to clear this up and give you a solution for a very proper cold chain warehouse. So these are all the things that could happen in tropical countries, but with the right design and the right hardware, you are able to prevent that. Today, I would like to talk you through the gold standard that we offer. So we have 4 ranges with our doors, but I would like to show you what, let's say, the most technically challenging application in a high bay warehouse, automated high bay warehouse, where we have an outside temperature, let's say above 30 degrees and a high humidity. And then you should design like an ante room where you cool the air down. And I would like to talk about this red area here. If you can see my mouse, the airlock chamber. Here's a close-up of this. So basically, the trucks come to the side, to the bottom of the screen. You have a loading bay, you get the goods into the ante room, and then you shuffle them through the airlock area into your high bay warehouse. And we use 2 doors for that. We use a 1550 door, which is like a flexible high-speed door with very low thermal insulation, but it's not needed in this case. And then after that, the ISO-speed cold, which has the thermal insulation to keep your energy safe and to keep the cold inside the cold room. So I'll give you a couple of pictures here. So this is the conveyor system. The red door that you see is the 1550. The forklifts will operate in this area, put it on the conveyor belt, and then in this picture, you see the conveyor belt has some automatic readers for barcodes. They bring it into the airlock area. So here you look into the airlock area, you see the red doors here. That's the high-speed door, that's the ISO-speed cold. And then you get the goods into your high bay warehouse. And because the humidity is controlled, because the temperatures are controlled, you will not get any icing on the door. You can see here how this operates. This is a client in Germany, and you can see that the door in the middle of the picture, in the upper picture, has very good insulation values and is able basically to keep the cold inside your warehouse. It's in a way, it's like a movable wall, movable PU wall that goes up and down. I show you here a little video on how this thing works. When I start the video, the door comes down at a lower speed. That's for security reasons. You can change that, so we can change the speed of the door, but now it's important when you see how fast this door opens. Then you can see basically you can move your wall up and down, in this case for a forklift. In the case that I described before, if you have a conveyor belt and there's no security risk, we can open the door with the same speed that we close it, and you can really keep your energy inside your cold area. What makes this door so special is a very good insulation with a low U value. We have a heated frame, so we protect ice from starting because we heat our frame section. We have a built-in air curtain that keeps the cold air inside your warehouse, and the heart of it is the 10 centimeters of PU insulation that really works like a wall that goes up and keeps your cold out. We have done projects in the Philippines. In the last year, we did Big Blue Logistics in Cebu. I believe it's about to be finished. I follow my client on LinkedIn, and I think it's about there. We did the Dali warehouse in Carmona. Dali is a new German company that entered the Philippines to shake up the supermarket sector a little bit. And we worked through distributors from Europe with Royal Cold Storage and Gentech Storage. So that was my presentation. If you have questions, looking forward to the breakout room. You can contact me at these numbers. So I have a Chinese mobile number for WeChat, and I have a Singapore mobile number for WhatsApp. Also can send me an email, and if you scan this QR code, you see a video of our newest plant in China, the Changshu plant that can help you to get excellent doors as well. If you have any questions, looking forward to that in the breakout rooms, and I hand over back to Charlotte.
Thank you, Mr. Schwarz. I just realized that our colors are the Hermann colors.
Yes.
Yeah, so anyway, so let's move on to the next speaker of ours, Dr. Andreas Plättner, Business Manager of Indion GmbH on digitalization in warehouse. So we're excited to hear more from you.
Okay, thank you very much. I need to share my screen. Okay, I hope everybody sees my screen, and I welcome everybody to this event. And my name, as you already said, is Andreas Plättner, and I'm a shareholder and managing director of Indion GmbH. Indion is a German technology company, and we're based in the south of Germany. We're a leading provider of own technology solutions for controlling, monitoring, and handling the material flow in warehouse and production facilities. For example, large cold storage warehouses for food are often operated by forklifts. Our contribution to energy efficiency is reached by increasing the productivity, the fleet utilization, and safety of these forklifts without changing the customer's infrastructure. Our solution, Track and Race, transforms conventional forklifts and tugger trains into intelligent and connected devices. We integrate hardware into the customer's forklifts that are already operating, the so-called red box and sensors that provide, for example, fork height and loading events. We can also read the CAN bus data from the vehicle, and various positions systems on the vehicles can be used to determine the current position of the forklift inside the warehouse. With the help of these sensors, we're able to determine at which coordinates in XYZ a product or a pallet has been picked or placed. This slide shows an overview of our products and solutions, the connection of the customer's IT landscape and the markets where our solutions are used. Our products are divided into three main segments. First is the connected hardware. This is the intelligent forklift. The second part is our software platform that connects to the vehicles and their sensors on the one hand, and to the customer's business applications on the other hand. These are, for example, WMS systems, ERP systems, or in production environments, the MES systems. The software platform stores all data generated on the forklift and provides them to third-party business applications using standard software interfaces. Own business applications include warehouse management systems for small and medium-sized businesses, business intelligence evaluations, and real-time reporting system, a real-time reporting system for forklift status data. The track and trace use cases take place in warehouse logistics and production logistics. We provide full transparency of all goods and forklifts and optimize the goods movements inside the warehouse. Without barcode scanning, there are no search times. Another use case are 3D inventory management, just-in-time delivery and transport of materials to the production machines. In addition, the sensor and position data from the forklifts are used for business intelligence to improve fleet management and to support maintenance activities. In addition to these diverse optimization of business processes, the Indian products are also characterized by flexible use in any storage and production environment under any environmental conditions. We have several applications in deep freeze rooms at -30 degrees Celsius, and we also work in hot tropical conditions as well. Ice, rain, snow, dirt have no effect on the performance of the system. Track and trace runs successfully in more than 60 plants worldwide and manages more than 55 million goods movements annually. And track and trace pays for itself for our customers within a short time, because there is no real change of the infrastructure needed. We just have to implement the system on your existing forklifts. Track and trace contributes significantly to savings in energy and cost. At the same time, the intelligent optimization of the material flow saves around 30% of the time spent. Approximately 25% of the forklift fleet can be saved, and associated with this are significant savings in energy used in the manufacture and the operation of the forklift. Emissions in the form of CO2 and, for example, nitrogen oxides during operation of the forklifts are also avoided. Track and trace is used in a wide variety of industries. For example, we have references in the building materials industry, the food, beverage industry, the wood and the paper industry, and as well the metal industry and the automotive industry. Inside Asia, we have great references in Thailand, and we want to use this space to expand into other regions like the Philippines. Our goal of this business trip is for the Philippine companies to get to know our products, and Indian wants to acquire Philippine sales partners and also system integrators with whom we can cooperate and do successful customer projects. Okay, that's all, and I thank you very much for your interest.
Thank you so much, Dr. Plättner. I would like to invite all the delegates to come back, switch on your camera, please, and join me in the question and answer session. So thank you so much for your presentations. I would also like to ask our expert, Jan-Niklas Gerdes, to join, just in case there are questions. But for now, our audience seems to be a little shy.
I would love to switch on my camera, but I cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
All right,
okay, now it works. Yeah, good, fantastic.
All right, so
my camera is also blocked.
Mr. Reuter as well. We'll check it.
Yeah.
Before, maybe the audience just needs time to warm up. We have also prepared a few questions, and maybe we start with Mr. Zimmermann. How long does the installation and setup of the second life battery storage system usually take?
Yes, at first we have to know what is the amount, what capacity has to be stored. And just when it comes to an installation, I would say 1 week. So it's a ready to install, plug and play solution. And if we know what is the demand, for instance, in a storage facility, cold chain storage, which input we will get from the PV plant installed on the roof of this facility, we can calculate what's needed, which battery capacity is useful and helpful in this case. And when all these determinants of factors are will be known, so we can set up the complete system for the customer.
Thank you for clarifying. Also, one listener, Mr. Elmar Lapena, sorry, sir, from our membership is very keen in learning more about battery storage to optimize electricity consumption, and will be connecting you if you don't even have a B2B yet, but we'll connect you afterwards.
Yes, for sure.
All right. So maybe Mr. Hagen, we just follow the chronological order. What is the time frame when using the software that you presented to identify energy efficiency opportunities? And maybe you could clarify a little bit more what data is needed to fill in, because you mentioned that we have to provide you with data before.
Yeah. So talking about time, there's the, like, if you just count the minutes or the hours, this is the one thing, and there I would per subject rather say maybe it's an hour or 2 hours. But for sure, sometimes you need to ask a colleague or you need to visit a facility. So what we experience is that companies maybe take 2 weeks to collect all the data. And this was so the first part of your question. And sorry, I think you had another part.
Yes, if you could specify what data you usually feed in.
Yeah. So in a perfect world, we have like digital, all kind of sensor measured data long-term with high accuracy. Unfortunately, we are not there yet. So we work with very basic data which companies can upload, and our added value is so we are lower level of detail, but our added value is also to outline where there are potentials and where in some case it might make sense to install, for example, more meters, and where to invest in more data collection. So it can start with very low quality of data, so at little details, things which can be answered with questionnaire, and then while companies are proceeding in their transformation to become more energy efficient, both the available data from their side as well as from this reason, then the evaluated data will grow and increase.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hagen. Mr. Schwarz, for Hermann, what kind of after-sales service does Hermann provide for your customers in the Philippines?
I mean, normally it's installation service. So this door is not the easiest door to handle. It's actually probably one of the most difficult doors to install because it has the heated frame and the air curtain to get everything right. And then to enjoy this investment a very long time, you need regular maintenance. And depending on the opening cycles, this would be either every 3 months, every 6 months, really depending on how often you use it. We can do a remote diagnosis, but I always recommend that in order to enjoy a long life of the door, that we have regular maintenance service.
Mm-hmm. All right, then Mr. Dr. Plättner, apologies, what efficiency increases have been achieved in past projects using Indian's track and race solution?
Yeah, as I already mentioned in my presentation, of course our impact is not comparable to, let's say, how you can insulate and save energy when you build a cold storage room, but of course the operation of the cold storage room using forklifts is something that also has an impact, because opening the doors more often just really is bad, because you lose energy and you have to cool more, and if you and the efficiency increase is more or less 25%. It of course depends on how they're using the forklifts today, but as a general measure, these 25% is realistic, is a realistic saving, not only in energy but also money-wise, and that definitely is interesting for the companies.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much for clarifying. I think our audience is warming up a little. So there is a follow-up question for Mr. Zimmermann. I'm interested in other applications of the e-battery. Can you kindly provide more example of its applications in the cold chain industry? I think you're muted, sir.
You're right. Yeah. Now my mic is on. Yes, thanks for the question. Directly in this field of coaching industry, I think we have no example or no reference here on site in Germany or in Europe, but I will clarify it with e-battery systems. And I think what we can offer to everyone who's interested in this technology and this kind of battery storage solutions, we can prepare something like a questionnaire, and everyone is open to fill in the main issues depending to the facility, depending to the kind of usage. And then we can concentrate on the main issues and what's useful and helpful, especially for those projects.
Thanks so much for this offer. There is a follow-up question for Mr. Schwarz. Do you have cold storage air doors as part of your product list?
Air drawers, sorry?
Air doors, it says.
Air doors. We have air curtains, but we don't have air doors.
Okay.
We can combine the door that I showed you with an air curtain that blows down, but just keeping the air curtain as a door, I would not recommend that.
All right.
If this was the air door, I'm struggling with the word air door.
I think I'll invite Sanden to join your breakout room, and then you can technically discuss further. I have one last question for Mr. Gerdes. What do you think is the lowest hanging fruit one can do, energy efficient wise?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Again? Sorry. Yes. Well, I would say probably the use of waste heat recovery, because it just has the largest potential. Also very important is just generally improving the insulation, especially of piping, refrigeration rooms, or the entire facility itself. I'd say those are the two biggest measures I would suggest.
Thank you so much. All right, then there we have it. We can now close block A and move on to block B. So I would like to ask you to turn off your cameras again and mute, and then we move on to Mr. Michael Meyer-Obersleben.
Hello. Yes.
Hello. From Ingenieurbüro Meyer-Obersleben, Business Development Manager. And I think we have prepared, or you have prepared, a video for us.
Yeah, right. I've made a little video, so I don't be longer than 5 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you for running it.
Energy efficiency in cold storages. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Meyer-Obersleben. I'm from Germany, and my question today is air tightness needed? Let's have a closer look. In cold storages, we have food to cool down, And we need a lot of electricity and a big cooling machine. And yeah, if we do this, it's not very energy efficient. So we put a bit insulation around this, and we need a smaller cooling machine, and we need less energy. But if we do a bit real good insulation, a bit more than normal, we save a lot of energy, and we only need a very small small cooling machine. So in cold storages, it's necessary to have a good insulation. It's about the energy demand. It's the energy efficiency. It's very low if you have no insulation, and it's very high if you have very, very good insulation. And also the temperature swing is absolutely constant in a good insulated building. And therefore you need airtightness of the envelope. It's very important that you have a good airtightness. Okay, normally people don't have uninsulated cold storages, so you can forget this one. So normally you have a little a normal insulation, but it should be better to have a very good insulation. What is about the fire in cold storages? If there is a fire in the cold storages, you have different possibilities to fight against it. The one is fighting with water. Is that a good idea? I don't think so. So this is not the real idea. You need a better solution, innertization or the gas extinguish system. But how does it work? Using fire extinguishing gas is blown into the building, and then the gas will fight the fire and extinguish it. So this is a very good solution. But let's have a closer look. If you have an untight building and a tight building, what happens? You need more energy for the ventilation system in an untight building, and you need absolutely a lot of more energy. And also, if you have a fire prevent system or fire extinguishing system, it won't work in an untight building. It will work in a tight building. And mold will grow in the construction, and you won't have any problems in the construction then. So the architect has to plan the building, the insulation layer, the airtightness layer, and the worker, well, they do what they want sometimes. So it's absolutely necessary to go controlling on the building side and afterwards doing the measuring of the airtightness. So what can I do for you? I can help you. Discussion, I can show you why it is necessary, and I can help you with theoretical and practical workshops about airtightness, and then you can learn to do these things by yourself. But only in cold storages? No, not really. Also in residential buildings, in warm climates or even in colder climates, it's absolutely necessary that you have a very, very airtight envelope if you have a very good insulation. So the question from the beginning is airtightness needed in energy efficiency cold storages or energy efficiency in all buildings? Is the airtightness needed? The answer, yes, it is. So let me help you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for this video.
That was a short overview.
Yes, you want to add maybe some 1-2 sentences?
Yes, I'm only one person office, just me and nobody else. And I'm very happy to have had now 25 trips to China, 1 trip to Kazakhstan, and I'm looking forward to help also the people in the Philippines to do airtightness in their buildings.
Excellent. And you also mentioned a while ago, because you have a very, very long name, that we can also call you the house doctor.
The house doctor.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah, because my Chinese name is Wu Dai Fu. This means also house doctor.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much. We'll move on then to our next presenter.
Yes.
Energy efficiency.
Mr. Jörg Michael Reuter, Sales Manager of MIG MBH Material Innovative Gesellschaft, and we are very excited to hear from you and your solutions for innovative building materials.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning to all the people. ¿Cómo está? I hope mabute po. And let's start with the presentation. MIG is an innovative company for energy efficient thin layer insulation systems. Next, please. We are founded 20 years ago, and we have already a joint venture in China, and our 2 CIOs are members of the Chinese government in the Standard Committee for Thin Film Insulation. And we are voted for 2 years from the European nation as key innovator for active facade insulation systems. And thankful from the guy from Fraunhofer Institute, he said the most efficiency we can take is in the waste heat recovery improvements to thermal insulation up to 80%. And this is true. And we have the breathtaking solution. Next, please. And these are the problems, even in cool storage or houses. We have a water problem for corrosion, for bacterials, for virus. We have a heat problem. We have odor problems, dust problems, sound problems, and light problems. And our technology is the solution for everything. Please, next. So everybody knows that in the cool storage rooms, we have the water problem, because water transports the energy 25 times stronger than air. So what we do with our system, we keep the walls and ceilings dry. Next, please. Now we see a video, or can we not show the video? I include a video. Wait, let me look. Can I start it on my monitor?
Yes, you can share from your monitor.
Yes, because I include in my presentation a video. I think this is a PDF. Okay, let me share. Okay. All right, yeah, let us share the video here. So let's hear the video.
Working principle of Dhmb double hybrid membrane technology. Let's observe the humidity in a random room and draw the molecule of water vapor on its journey to the surface of a wall coated with our Dhmb double hybrid membrane technology. Our double hybrid membrane coating is like a thin film with uniformly distributed pores, which is sealed with a flexible membrane at the bottom. Additionally, the surface of this membrane system is covered with a regular pattern of double hybrid particles, which reflect infrared and ultraviolet radiation. Now the molecule of water vapor penetrates into a pore of the membrane. Once the molecule arrives at the bottom of the pore, the molecule will be catapulted away as if by a trampoline. When this happens, infrared energy is transferred from the double hybrid particles to the molecule of water vapor and absorbed. Meanwhile, the molecule of water vapor is repelled from the bottom of the pore. This works like a molecular pump, removing humidity on the wall as a result. The wall is dried, creating a natural insulation system which allows multiple benefits such as keeping mold away and greatly reducing corrosion. Saving energy significantly through reflecting infrared radiation. ensuring durability of the facade through the Dhmb technology, which disperses ultraviolet radiation, subsequently increasing property value and promoting health and well-being for inhabitants.
So this means that we have an active combination of low E coating, moisture management, and high breathability. That means significant energy savings, dry, germ-free surfaces, fire protection because it's not burnable, healthy indoor climate, noise reduction, and brilliant surfaces. So what our technology does also is we have a better air quality, more terminal comfort, less energy consumption because the heat or the cold, it doesn't matter, it's hot or cold, cannot escape. So it stays in the room. So you don't need much energy to cool the systems down. And also we have no more fine dust in the room because the difference between the floor and ceiling is maximum 1 degree. So there's no thermal transport through the room. You can install it on concrete, plaster, metal, wood, plastic, aluminium, stone, glass, textiles, all kind of surfaces. For example, on the roof, you see the energy consumption is dramatically, it was before 55 degrees, and with our technology, it's afterwards only 28. And these are some examples. We are working together with the biggest cruise ship builders in the world. They have also cool rooms, and they have already problems with water and ice. So this is, for example, the horticulture, the biggest horticulture plantation in Germany. We install the coating there as well, though they save significant energies. And this is an example in Israel. We have here a refrigerated container. And without our coating, they need from cooling down from 25.8 degrees to 2 degrees, they need 76 minutes. And the energy consumption is 5.5 kilowatt. After our coating, they need only 33 minutes to cool down, and they need only the energy of 3 kilowatt. That means that we keep the surfaces dry and the ceilings, the air condition don't need so much energy, and the energy stays in the room. So we save 52% time and 42% energy savings. So the savings, generally, we cannot say how much. It depends how often you open the doors of the cool storage and so on. That's our many kind of factors. But this is our last project in Mallorca. It's a huge refrigerated warehouse, Palma fruit, the biggest in Spain. And they sent us a testimony that they already saved in the first month after installation in the room already over 1,000 euro electricity costs. This is in pesos, 55,000 pesos. They save already in the first month on energy. And you see the fruits or vegetables, whatever, they have another taste because there is no water on our right side. So here the raspberries, they look like the first day. And on the left side with the normal refrigerator with water, they go down. Even the salad looks better with our coating and so on. But the most important thing is we have an antimicrobial reduction of 99.99%. So that's why we also make hospitals with our technology in the central emergency room. And after 1 year, they don't find any free of bacteria and germs on the surfaces. Yeah, in summation, we have a significant energy savings, moisture management, active membrane surface through low E function. We have a health and hygienic antimicrobial reduction. We have a fire protection. We have odor neutralizing and noise and fine dust reducing. I think this is the best innovation ever made in this century and will change the world dramatically. Yeah, you can use it, of course, in offices and hotels, kitchens, hospitals, schools, care homes, cool storage rooms, tobacco running chamber, roofs, wherever you put the coating, you save in significant energies. Thank you very much for your attention. And I think you have a lot of questions and I'm ready to answer everything to your best. Salamat po.
Salamat din. Thank you so much, Mr. Reuter. We will move on then to Frank Molter, Board of Director of and CEO of Solar Next AG. we are curious to learn more about regenerative heat and cooling supply.
Okay. Hello to everybody in the Philippines. Good afternoon and good morning to the German participants. So we are at SolarNext. We do absorption cooling technologies. This means we turn heat into cooling. Can we see the next chart, please? Our company was founded in 2000. We are pioneers of the cooling kit solution. We installed more than 100 cooling kits worldwide. We are naturally ISO 9001 certified, and we got the Bavarian Energy Award 2020 for district cooling solution, which I will show later in our references. Can we go on? So our main objective is not to use electricity to cool down, but to use heat, especially, as Mr. Gerde said, waste heat or something like solar thermal heat or CHP heat. Next chart, please. So the difference between absorption and compression chiller, which compression chiller is the mainly used technology. The main difference is, as you see it below, is that we use thermal heat. So our thermal COP is between 0.65 to 1.5. It depends the kind of model and how many degrees the heat have you can use. And the compression chiller use electricity as driving energy. The COP electrical is 2 to 5, means to produce 100 kilowatt cooling, you need between 20 to 50 kilowatt electricity. And in our case, our electrical COP is 15 to 20, which means we use 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 kilowatt, 400 kilowatt cooling, because it's mainly the pumps and the recooling unit. We can do the next chart. So the big advantage is less electricity consumption, minimum 75% of electricity savings, lower operating costs because the chiller doesn't have mechanical components, only a solution pump. Non-usage of refrigerants as CFCs and HCFCs, so my hydrofluorocarbons, because we use water as refrigerant. Lack of issues related to mechanical vibrations because no mechanical parts. Stable coefficient of performance means if you use it partial load or full load, it's mainly the same COP. Easy maintenance, longer lifetime, and environmentally friendly solution. Next, please. So these are the heat sources you can use in Germany. The main heat sources used is the CHP, or also known as cogeneration. What is coming up now more often is waste heat from process heat or from compressed air, as you can see. And then solar thermal systems is in the last 2-3 years increasing a lot. And what you don't have here is district heating, because district heating comes from different kind, like waste burning stations or plants and so on. Next, please. This is a hydraulic principle. So when you want to know more about it, you can look at the presentation, because you can download it and then we can go through, or you can ask me questions. Next, please. So the components of our chiller cooling kit is the absorption chiller, you can see left. Then the recooling unit, this is only an example of a recooling unit. Then the pumps for the 3 circuits you need to run the system, and the system controller, including electric cabinet, and optional, we also deliver cold and hot water storage, but I think in Philippines you can buy this easily locally. So the next chart. These are a few models of machines. The main used machine is the first one, hot water absorption chiller, which means it's a single effect machine. It runs with driving temperature from 80 to 120 degrees Celsius. The delta T is 10 to 40 K. So if you run, for example, 90, you can run 90, 70, 90, 60, 90, 50, something like this. Then cooling capacity is 30 to 2000 RT, means 105 to 7000 kilowatt per module. Yeah, and the COP thermal is 0.82. Then you have a lot of other machines which I don't want to go through. Perhaps to mention is the steam absorption chiller, with double effect means medium pressure, which has a higher driving energy because the temperature is about 160, 180 degrees. So next chart, and the next also directly there. So this is to show you how it looks like. The left one is the absorption chiller. In the middle, you have the system controller. And on the right side, an example for a recooling kit. This is now, here is, you see a machine with 200 kilowatt cooling capacity and 500 kilowatt or 450 kilowatt of recooling capacity. Next one. This is the steam, no, the further, one back, no, back. This is the steam driven machine. You see here that it looks a little bit different because of higher pressure in the system. And the next one, this is for some applications, they have a direct fire. It means here you see the on the right side, there is a gas burner, which generates itself the hot water you need for the machine. Next one. So now we show a little bit of our references. The first one is the city of Rosenheim. We installed as first machine 220 kilowatt chiller. The heat source is district heating from waste burning plant. So in Germany, about 94% of our home waste is burned, also from companies, is burned in waste plants. And then we generate electricity, and as a waste, we have also heat. And here they decided to use this heat, especially in summertime, because they don't need a lot of heat in summertime for the household. So we use it to cool down companies which are nearby the plant. And yeah, we have here 220 kilowatt chiller. And this is the application we also got the Bavarian Energy Award for. Now Rosenheim has already got 3 additional machines. They are now at 1 megawatt cooling capacity nearby. The CO2 emissions were reduced by 85% and the power consumption reduced by 87% because we use this district heating. Next one. This is the picture. This is a chiller here. Then this is a recooling plant. It's in a parking house, parking lodge. In the basement, there is a machine, and on the roof, they have the recooling unit. Next one. This is an automotive supplier who produces special metal parts. And they have 2 chiller cooling kits with 175 kilowatt each. And the heat source is here a cogeneration unit, and they reduce the CO2 emissions by 85% and the power consumption also by 85%. Next one. Here's the installation. You can see the 2 recooling units, and here's this right and left the chillers, the absorption chillers. Next one. Velux, perhaps you know, it's the world leading roof windowing company. They have a production site in Germany where they glue metal, wooden and plastic frames together. And for this process, they need a stable cooling temperature. And they bought 2 systems from us. They use the process heat. So they have waste of the wood, which they burn and generate with this hot water. And with this hot water, we run the machine. They reduce the CO2 emissions by 90% and the power consumption by 94%. So next one. Here you can see these are the 2 recooling. These are wet cooling towers, which I think you also can find in Philippines. Sometimes they are in stainless steel. Here it's glass fiber construction. And here are the 2 machines and the controllers with the electric cabinets. The next one is a small one we did in Afghanistan. It's a children's hospital in Kabul, where we installed solar thermal panels and a few PV panels so that the whole system is completely CO2 emission free and power consumption free, because the little bit of electric power we need is produced by the PV. It's a few PV panels, and the whole heat we use is produced by the solar thermal panels. Yeah. So that's, I think, the presentation. Thank you for your attention. If you are interested to hear more, please join the Block B room, where we can answer more questions. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thanks so much, Mr. Frank Molter, and also to all the other gentlemen. We will start now with the question and answer session. And I would like Mr. Meyer-Olbersleben and also Mr. Reuter to switch on your camera. And then, dear audience, please don't be shy. You can raise your question in the chat box. And of course, meanwhile, we also prepared a few. So I'll start with Mr. Meyer-Olbersleben. Which equipment is needed to perform a blower door test?
It's just you just need a blower, and you have to measure the pressure difference between inside and outside. When I had the job in Kazakhstan, the airline missed my luggage, and it didn't have the luggage, the measuring instrument. So I built a measuring system by my own, just with the things I found in a superstore. And it's also possible, but you need a lot of experiences, and a lot of my colleagues won't do that. But it's very simple. In principle, it's very simple. Yeah.
And you would also be willing to instruct Philippine colleagues how to execute that?
Exactly. That's what I want to do. It's not ecological to fly to the Philippines and to do an air tightness test in a building, even if it's a big building. But it's not the real thing I want. I want to come to the Philippines to train some technicians that they can do further on in the future their air tightness tests.
Excellent. All right. Then we have one question from Ms. Bernice for Mr. Reuter of MIG. How often does the coating need to be reapplied? No, you already answered.
Yes, and only one time. And we give a warranty of 10 years. Even the facades, they look beautiful 20, 30 years. Of course, if it's damaged or it's something run against it, you have to recoat it a little bit. But at the moment, you make it one time and that's enough.
Mm-hmm. There's a follow-up question from Mr. Adrian Lucky. What is minimum room temperature for the coating to be applied?
Yeah, of course, if you applied the coating, the cool storage have to turn off, because the coating have to be dried once. So first of all, we clean the surface, we put the primer, the special primer on it, then we make the first thin layer insulation on it, and after 1 day the second, that we have a completely, how can I say, completely 400 to 600 micrometers layer. The volume, the thin layer, the thickness, yeah, is 400 to 600 micrometers. And it has to be dried once, and then you can turn off and everything is okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then Marlon Romulo Domingo is asking, do absorption cooling system also require cooling tower?
Yeah, you need, you have 3 circuits. One is a hot water or steam circuit. One is a chilled water circuit, and then you have the recooling circuit. And if you don't have any other potential to recool this circuit, you need a cooling tower. If you can use it somewhere where you decrease the water temperature, let's say from 36 to 30, then you can also use this, but normally you use a recooling tower.
Mm-hmm. All right. Please don't hesitate to ask your questions. But I have a follow-up for you, Mr. Molter. which heat source do you see with most potential in the Philippines? For
I think,
yeah.
I think in industry there is certainly a lot of process heat which can be used. Yeah, we did in Malaysia, for example, an installation for wooden industry. They do some walls for buildings, yeah, internal walls for offices, which are with wooden plastering, and they use the wood waste the powder, and generate hot water. And then you have naturally on all the islands, you would have a lot of potential with solar thermal systems. And you can also run them 24 hours when you put a big hot water storage, for example, in the earth or in front or beside the building. Yeah, this is potentially possible, and hot water storage is easy to handle because there is no chemical inside and it's cheap to build. Yeah, so you can also run it. It's not the way that you run it only when you have sun. You can also run it the 24 hours. We did already an example in Aruba, in an island in near Venezuela.
And there's another follow-up question for you. For Frank, does steam absorption chillers use fresh steam for production cooling? If so, is it more economical than using compressed-driven chillers?
No, you can use fresh steam, but then I would perhaps go for a direct fire chiller, because if you produce only the steam for the chiller, it makes sense when you have a plant where the steam is produced automatically. But to produce steam only for this, I think it doesn't make sense. Then you better buy a direct fire chiller with hot water. Yeah. But it's always more economically than compression chiller, especially in Philippines, with a payback. I would say it depends how many running operational hours you have. If you have in an industry like 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 hours, the payback can be sometimes like 2 years or less, or 3 to 4 years. Yeah, in Germany we talk sometimes about paybacks of 1.2, 1.6 years for such chillers.
All right. Last question before we have to move on because of the time. It's for you, Mr. Meyer-Olbersleben. Would airtightness be doing against ventilation? And maybe as a background, because with the pandemic, the government has installed some regulation on ventilation in companies. So what would be your take on that?
It's absolutely necessary to have a ventilation system in a building. And it's also absolutely necessary to have an airtight building, because if the envelope of the building is not airtight, there's the air flowing through the envelope, through junctions, through gaps, through other leakages. If this happens, you have problems inside the insulation. If the warm air gets through the insulation layer to the colder side, there's the dew point, and you will have a lot of moisture falling out of the air, because warm air can keep a lot of water inside and cold air can't. So if you, in the summertime, if you bring a bottle of beer out of your refrigerator and standing on a glass table, you will see that there is a water around the bottle. It's not, the bottle is still tight. It's from the air. And this same happens inside the wall when the warm air flows through the envelope. And then there will be the condensation inside the insulation. And if you have a wet insulation, you will have also mold inside, and you have a lot of heat losses. So
absolutely,
it's the first thing: make a good insulation, make a good airtightness, and then you also need a ventilation system. Both is absolutely necessary.
Amen. You have to make it.
Thanks so much for clarifying. I'm so sorry. I saw that there is a question, but we won't have time. And I can only encourage you to seek our delegates personally in the breakout sessions.
Yes.
So thank you so much, gentlemen. We'll move on to the next program point.
Yeah.
And we are excited. I'm welcoming Mr. Dizon, Anthony Dizon, Chairman of the Cochine Association of the Philippines. He is going to deliver the keynote for today's event. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Let me start by expressing my appreciation to the German-Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry for the kind invitation to be part of this meeting today. And thank you to the German business community for having shown their interest in the Philippine cold chain industry. I understand that the central theme of today's meeting has to do with energy efficiency. And to my mind, this is a very timely subject, considering that the Philippines has recently enacted what we refer to as the Energy Efficiency Act of 2019, referred to as the Republic Act 11285, which requires intensive users of power to undertake their respective programs to reduce their energy footprint. And therefore, from what I have gathered from the presentations made earlier, all the subjects that have been discussed will be very useful for future planning of the cold chain industry to comply with this new provision of the law. My presentation today will provide you a snapshot of the state of affairs in the cold chain industry in the Philippines today and the outlook for the short to medium term. Well, about the Cold Chain Association of the Philippines. We are a multi-sectoral grouping of business and professional organizations involved in the various post-harvest activities in the supply chain for perishable food products. We were organized in 2002 under the auspices of a study conducted by the U.S. Department of Agriculture involving 28 countries around the world, and the Philippines was the first country in Southeast Asia that was subject to this study. So upon the recommendations of the USDA Technical Experts Group, we have organized ourselves into an association so that we can speak with one voice in talking to government about policy formulations, about talking to other industry associations in terms of operating standards, and in pursuit of our primary advocacies, which are food safety, food sufficiency, and food security. Today, the Cold Chain Association of the Philippines has approximately 130 corporate membership in its roster, and the membership is divided among two categories. We have regular membership, which caters to companies involved in food processing, food importation, food logistics, cold storage warehouse operators, refrigerated transport operators, food retail outlets, and quick service restaurants. On the other side of the membership roster, we have associate members consisting of equipment suppliers, designers, builders, the academe, government, and the financing institutions. So as mentioned earlier, we today have a total membership roster of about 129 member companies. The largest population sector in the association consists of the cold storage warehouse operators, where we have 40 companies operating approximately 88 separate installations around the country with an aggregate capacity of 600,000 pallet positions. The Cold Chain Association of the Philippines has strategic alliances and affiliations with local and international agencies. In the Philippines, we are strategically aligned with the Philippine Association of Meat Processors, with the Meat Importers and Traders Association, with the Philippine Association of Fish Producers Incorporated. And on the international front, we are officially an affiliate of the Global Cold Chain Alliance, which is an international organization based in Virginia in the USA. Over the 20 years of the existence of the association, we have worked with various private and government agencies to formulate and implement specific projects that have to do with cold chain development. This chart and the next chart will show the progress, the progressive activities that we have undertaken over the past 10 years or so. We would like to, but we would like more to focus on what we are currently doing in terms of our projects. So today, the Cold Chain Association of the Philippines holds the co-chairmanship of the National Cold Chain Committee together with the Department of Trade and Industry and the Department of Agriculture. We are also participants in the Interagency Task Force on Food Value Chain and Logistics organized by the Department of Trade and Industry and the Department of Agriculture. We have also cooperated with the Supply Chain and Logistics Management Division of the Department of Trade and Industry for the preparation of an e-book on streamlining business processes in the cold chain industry. We are also currently involved in the Global Partnership for Improving the Philippine Food Cold Chain with UNIDO and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources of the Philippine government. And lastly, we are currently in a project with another international NGO, Relief International, who are undertaking a project in cooperation with UNICEF for the inspection and maintenance of COVID-19 vaccine cold chain facilities around the country. So, going to the meat of the presentation, what are the prospects and the outlook for the cold chain industry in the short to medium term? First, the Philippine cold chain industry is projected to exhibit continuing growth at the rate of 8 to 10% per annum over the next 5 years. This data has been validated and established as part of the information that is provided in the National Cold Chain Industry Roadmap that was launched by the Board of Investments to get in cooperation with the Cold Chain Association of the Philippines in December 2020. The industry roadmap identified that there was a demand gap of about 100,000 pallet positions between aggregate capacity and projected demand. Second, development of agribusiness sectors in outlying areas. Our compatriots in the Philippines will remember that in the recently concluded election campaign, all the different parties involved in the elections had proclaimed that part of their priority agenda would always include the development of agribusiness sectors in the outlying areas of the country. Third, we are still in the recovery mode from the pandemic experience which we have gone through over the past 2 years. And as a result of the requirements of the pandemic for the protection of food quality and food safety, we have perceived that there is an evolving consumer preference arising from this particular phenomenon. And as also related to the exigencies of the pandemic experience, we are now expecting that there will be stricter enforcement of Republic Act 10611, which is the National Food Safety Act. In addition, the recent pronouncements by this current government has indicated that there will be a more favorable investment climate within the Philippines with the passage of the amendments to the Foreign Investments Act and the Public Service Act. Essentially, what this provides is that foreign companies can now be allowed to own up to 100% of companies that are engaged in business activities that fall within the Strategic Investment Priorities Plan of the Board of Investments. Also, there are, relatedly to that, there are incentives available under a law that was passed about 2 years ago, the CREATE law, which offers special conditions for companies that are willing to invest in specific strategic industries that have been identified. One of the more notable incentives available now is the access to special economic zones for domestic-oriented industries under the Strategic Investment Priorities Plan. Prior to this, access to special economic zones were previously limited only to industries that were export-oriented. But with the representations that we have made to the Economic Zone Authority and the Board of Investments, we now have a confirmation that access to these zones will be granted even for domestic-oriented industries. Let me mention that one of the favorable circumstances that will be created under this access to special economic zones is the fact that the cold chain industry is particularly real estate intensive because of the nature of the operations of the industry, and therefore, aside from the fact that despite the opening of the ownership of the business community to foreign investments, the constitutional prohibition of owning land still exists. And therefore, the access to special economic zones will allow these companies to work around the prohibition of owning land. Next, we also have the new policies that may be enunciated by the incoming administration pertaining to agricultural development, which we feel will be very critical to the pursuit of the economic the development programs that we so critically need at this point in time. But on the other hand, after having discussed the opportunities available, we also need to recognize the challenges that exist in terms of developing the cold chain industry in the country. First, the existing world order has spawned protectionist trade policies among several countries that may affect supplies of vital material inputs needed in the Philippine food industry. We have witnessed the phenomena that has existed, for example, in the availability of material inputs from certain countries in Europe that have been affected by the avian influenza syndrome, and therefore we are now experiencing a shortage in supply of the material inputs related to this. On the local front, we are still also besieged with the problem of the African swine fever, which has decimated the population of the hog industry in the Philippines. And we need to navigate a landscape that will continue to include these factors in the short term, in the immediate future. So having said that, therefore, there is a need to attain a certain level of self-sufficiency in agricultural production and develop locally produced substitutes for imported materials. Next, for us to be able to accomplish this, this will require a concerted effort at establishing partnerships that will enable technology transfer and product development. On the other hand, however, the Philippine market per se may not have the absorptive capacity for the economies of scale that may result from technological advancement. There needs to be a strategy for the development of external markets for Philippine products. Also, we have to take cognizance of the impact of what is locally referred to as the Mandanas ruling, which expands the fiscal capacity and the fiscal autonomy of local government units. I have taken note of this precisely because we have already experienced past situations where national policies do not necessarily agree with the local policies of the government units. And this is something that we will need to consider as we go along with our development plans. So having said all those, we would like to leave you with this closing statement. And we say that although the Philippine cold chain industry is projected to show positive growth arising from the intrinsic factors, we need to clearly understand that the operative word in cold chain operations is post-harvest. This therefore presupposes that all the other components of the food supply chain system need to operate in synchrony to ensure that the cold chain can function efficiently and sustainably. The challenge lies squarely with the architects and implementers of our agricultural development policies and strategies. The Philippines, similar to its ASEAN neighbors, is still primarily an agricultural economy. The examples of how science and technology can be harnessed to achieve improved productivity and minimize wastage is within reach. We do not need to reinvent the wheel. We simply need to emulate the good practices that have been tried, tested, and proven effective. Hopefully, the investment climate created with the enactment of the new policies will spark new interest in the international community to check if it is truly more fun in the Philippines. On that note, I close my presentation. Thank you and good afternoon to everybody.
Salamat po, Mr. Dizon. We appreciate this great partnership with you and that you have been sharing these insights, the experts' insights, and the introduction of your organization and impressive activities. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Now, I need to ask the audience to work again because we have prepared one last Menti question to activate your brain cells and engage you. So please share, what are your key takeaways today? So again, in the chat, but also on the slide, you see www.menti.com and then use the code 41818030. We are excited about your answers. Redefining, sealed, airtight, yep. Yes, airtightness is important. Progress, good solutions. Battery storage. Someone's eyes have been opened, great. Process optimization, collaboration. Excellent, wow, you know, we have a lot of responses. Proactively save the environment, I like that. Airtight building insulation and incentives. Yes, I will stop reading out the responses. I think you can see them yourself. We'll allow the last 10 seconds of this question, and then we will also close the Menti. Thank you so much for participating. We appreciate it. And just as a reminder, before we do the official closing, we will open the breakout session after this closing, and you have the chance again to mingle with all the delegates. So now I would like to call on Ms. Ann Mariano, Senior Vice President at the German-Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, for the closing remarks.
Thank you, Charlie. Dear delegates and German experts, dear members and friends, on behalf of the German-Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I would like to thank all the participants, speakers, and partner organizations for their valued contribution to making this event a successful one. Particularly, I would like to thank our partners, the Cold Chain Association of the Philippines, the Philippine Energy Efficiency Alliance, Inc., and of course, a Clarion representing the German ministry today. Thank you as well to Mr. Alexander Hirschle of GTAI, Dr. Georg Maurer of the German Embassy, Mr. Anthony Dizon of CCAP, and the ADB representatives for sharing your time and knowledge at yesterday's country briefing. And of course, to the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Change for supporting this event. I would like to express my gratitude to the 7 German company representatives from this business mission. We have gathered here today and wish you a fruitful delegation week ahead. And as you discuss potential business cooperation, may it serve as an encouragement for Germany and Philippines to continue strengthening their economic ties. Being at the forefront of the bilateral trade, the activities of the German-Philippine Chamber have the objective to connect businesses, explore opportunities together, and further strengthen partnership. This coming September, we have another German delegation on recycling and waste management, and we are super excited because this is a physical delegation. So please stay tuned in our event mailers for more updates on this. We are also more than happy to support other projects and inquiries that you might have. In closing, and before I give the floor to Charlie, I would like to thank also the men and women behind GPCCI for making and putting this very good webinar again. So while it is unfortunate that we are only gathered virtually, but soon we will be meeting face to face. No, this will not hinder us from getting to know one another. With that being said, I call Charlie to open the floor for networking and some instructions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Ma'an. Before we move on, we are wanting to ask everyone to share and open your camera if you're interested to become part of the group picture. I would like to invite also all the guests, if you are keen, please switch on your camera and we just take a quick picture. So see so many.
Kat, can you open it, the cameras again, please?
All right, I hope someone is taking pictures, guys. Okay, excellent. Smile.
Yes,
and then the next page, smile. We'll send you a collage. Thank you for participation. So while you're smiling and taking pictures, I'll just quickly announce. So we are opening now, or we have opened the breakout rooms. You will see in the line below, there's this button saying breakout rooms with these 4 squares. And there you can see and check which rooms you wish to visit. So room A is C for consult, room B is Iser, room C is Hörmann, D Indion, E Meyer Olbersleben, F MIG, G SolarNext, and H is our GPCCI. So you just open this window when you go on the button and scroll down, and then you will find the rooms, and then you can click join and then just go ahead and mingle. If you have issues, just let us know. If there are technical issues, we're here to support you. Thank you so much for joining, everyone.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you all.
Thank you, Charlotte. Nice event.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Hermann. Bye-bye. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yes, we will remain, leave the rooms open, but you can just hop around.
Babasa daw ng letter. Babasa daw ng.
Yes, you can again down below you will see the bottom breakout rooms. It's this 4 squares, and then you click on there and then a window opens, and then you scroll down, and when you scroll down you will see room A, room B, room C, room D. I hope, Raymond, you saw it. Oh, maybe you don't see the breakout room bottom because your Zoom version isn't updated. The same happened to me. Just message me maybe which companies you like to speak to. I'm very happy to connect you afterwards. Sayang naman.
Hi, Raymond. Which room you want to join? I can move you there.
That's Zola next, Eileen.